Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So, today I want to talk about Midsummer Night's Dream and how people are modernizing it. Now, you may not think this video is for you because you're not interested in doing that show, but just let me use this show as an example of what other companies are doing far and wide. So, I don't want to name the company, but if you're in the UK, you probably know who I'm talking about. There was a Midsummer Night's Dream that was set to be the style of the play, the era they were putting into was modern day, and it was set against a rave scene. And there were things in the play where there was going to be trans rights things and a changing of the sexes of the characters and a free Palestine as part of the set piece. A large spray painted section of the set was to say free Palestine. All of this is fine in other plays because Midsummer Night's Dream is not about that topic. And as you continue through the play, it becomes a comedy. Do you think anyone is going to laugh when the set is saying that in the comedic scenes? You have to think about the entirety of the play. Now, the backlash against this and the rumors floating around about what exactly happened, especially now that a board member who's only been on the board for a few months has left over this controversy of not putting this play on. They didn't just stop the style of that play, they stopped the play altogether. Now, in other reports, research reports, this company has come up as a series of companies that is having trouble with the new lowering of supplementation of funds in the UK. So this could have been part of it, but it doesn't stop people from guessing all kinds of strange things about what this meant and people being angry. The director, this was their debut with this company, and she has shot herself in the foot. I don't think when people are doing this, especially to Midsummer Night's Dream, which has seen all kinds of reinventions, I don't think they fully thought this out. It doesn't fit the whole narrative of the story. A lot of these things they wanted to include to modernize it. When they say other companies have modernized it, they cite very famous productions, one of which was in Regent's Park in London years ago, and the setting was in the 60s. This all worked with every aspect of the storyline. They didn't have to change the storyline at all, and even though it was the music and this and that, like, oh, it's all 60s, it's all so different. Not really. It's still the same story without a lot of changes, without a lot of reinventions. It's just a little view of it. Let's take one character. So when we first start out, the father is saying to the daughter, I want you to marry this man, not that man. The one that she really wants to marry, he's saying no to. And the appearance on the stage of both men is that one is a hippie, very much a hippie with long hair, and the other one is still 60s looking, but he's a little more of a Beatles type mop haircut, and it's pushed back and so forth. And he's just sort of looking a little hip, but still conservative. By the time they all get to the forest, you realize that was an act. He's just hip and hippie-ish in another fashion, in another way. He's the same as all of them. Now, the one that is the one he wants her to marry, it seems it's about money. We don't really know. We don't know why. We know that he's a bit of a cad. This also fits the 60s stereotype of free love. So there's no difference there. That's all Shakespeare's words. We quickly forget the setting. It just becomes background once all the action starts and the humor starts. Okay? But it fits everything without changing any of the lines. He's a cad. He's a bit of a trickster. He misrepresents himself. We don't ever know why the father wants this guy instead of that guy. Okay? It all works out in the end. But people are taking this instance and saying, look, it was modernized, it was perfect, we're just doing the same thing. No, you're not. You're adding a lot of elements that are changing the story, even if you don't think so. I've seen Romeo and Juliet's when, after they've seen the film, they want to change it to be like that, swimming pools, aquariums, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't really work on stage. So stop fighting it. I've seen very strange iterations of Midsummer. Some of these you won't believe. The one was the two leading characters, Hippolyta and I'm forgetting his name, the king and the queen. They start out at a Catholic school, and one is a nun and one is a priest, and they're letting go of the priesthood and the nunhood to become married. I don't know why this was put in here. I'm going to say it didn't work. That's a matter of opinion, but it didn't work. And it doesn't need that layer, okay? I think it was just an excuse to have the people, the young lovers, be young and in Catholic school outfits, you know, that sort of matched each other. And that becomes part of the comedy, is that they're in these Catholic school uniforms and you can't quite tell who's who as they're running around because their uniforms match. That part was interesting. We didn't need the other part. And this one you won't believe, but there was another one that was thankfully refused, which was when the man becomes a donkey and the fairy queen falls in love with him, we want to make him look more donkey-like. And this isn't a design meeting. Well, what do you mean? You're not going to believe this. And the costume designer and the director wanted to put a phallus, a fake phallus, on the donkey with fur legs. So he looked more like a cross between a fawn and that kind of thing. So it's really half man, half donkey in an animal sense, graphically. Whereas most of the time we leave him in the same costume and just give him some ears, maybe some hooves, and that's it. So his transitions are quick and easy. He can get into it and out of it very easily. Because often that character is left on stage for his transition. Okay? But this was take him off stage. There's a whole long costume change, adding makeup. It didn't make sense in any sort of universe with the timing of the transition, the getting in and out, and it didn't work with the animal legs and the phallus. It was just way too much. And they kept insisting they wanted to do it that way. And other very bizarre things for this version of the show that had to be fought the whole time. They had seen it once in Germany in a whole different style of show that was devised, and it was sort of Island of Dr. Moreau, where the animals and people are becoming one. That's fine for that company, for that show. But this is at a very different company, okay? And the clientele is very different. A lot of students, high school, grammar school, that's primary school to you guys. Primary school, it's just too much. The show does not need it at all, okay? Now, the part of the backlash from the creators is that, oh, we just want to make it relevant and new and interesting and modernize and really sync with younger people and get them back in the theater. Well, do your own show. I know that new scripts don't sell as well, but taking something that's a classic and trying to revamp the whole thing to your vision and claiming innocence, you're doing it because they're going to come to the classic that's having this sort of controversial revamping. That's what you're counting on. What you're not counting on is that the company will pay the price. You as visiting director or visiting staff or visiting designer, you can leave and come back and that's it. They're the ones that pay the price in the long run. And when it tanks, because it probably will, because you shouldn't be doing this, there are other ways to modernize besides really knocking people over the head with your views, however righteous and the rest of the world feels like, yes, that's your view, we feel the same, doesn't belong in this show. Okay? Really doesn't. Has nothing to do with this story and will be ultimately distracting to the story because it's so radically different. But you're using this classical piece because you know people will come see it instead of a devised piece that's saying everything that you really want to say in a much clearer manner. I often hear people do this with Hamilton, that Hamilton has sort of opened the floodgates for the strange people to say, oh, they did it in Hamilton. Everybody's going, Hamilton, Hamilton. Look at Hamilton. It is carefully done. The fact that you are seeing people that are historically white Americans played by Black and Latino people, done in rap and different music, you want to do the same thing yourself, but you're reversing it. So you're taking Black and Latino roles and hiring white people and citing, oh, they're doing it in Hamilton. It's okay now. No, it's not. It's not. Especially when it doesn't make sense with your story. Okay? This does not open everything up for you to do whatever you want. You have to think about your story and honor that. That's how you become a reputable director, artistic director, or theater company. Thinking about every aspect and what you're doing and what your meaning is and doing it carefully. Hamilton is done carefully, very carefully. More than just the casting, the way the show is created. It's not all rap, it's music, it's this, it's that. There's a lot going on there, and it all really works. You can't apply movies to your piece. This worked in the movie. Okay. Just think about every aspect of your play. Think of every aspect of Midsummer and understand that people will come to see Midsummer because you're being creative with it. Okay? I feel very bad for this company and the tragedy that's happened around this show and the fact that they just didn't change the things that they felt were controversial and they couldn't make an agreement to make the show happen anyway. Now, if you're a company and that you've sort of, I don't know, have you faded out during the pitches of these controversial aspects of these shows and just said yes to everything, and then when it actually happens, you're surprised? Or did these things come up later and you didn't check on it while the show was being built? You need to check on things, artistic directors and board, and whoever else is controlling your company. You need to go to first rehearsals, design meetings, not all of them, just the basic ones that talk about everything. You need to be on these emails. You need to see what's going on with your set so that at the last minute, you're not shutting it down. Okay, we're all responsible for what goes up on stage. I know you're already busy. I know that. But as you get the whiff of like, what are they doing to this? What's happening? You need to check it out. You need to have very clear talks with those people. Not the ridiculous things like, oh, you shouldn't cast that person of color because it's going to upset people. No. Political statements sprayed on walls that will remain on the set during a comedy, that doesn't work, however much you believe in that political statement. Okay? It just doesn't work. Changing up the sexes and just expecting it all to work and everyone accepting it and saying, oh, because you're refusing this, you're against trans people. Well, not for this show. This Midsummer is very particular about who is seducing who and why. And you may be able to take some characters and make them trans, but not the young lovers like they wanted to do. That's not the story. Other characters, maybe, but not the young lovers. That's not the story. And because you've said no, it doesn't mean you're against it. Stop accusing people of being against your beliefs when you haven't figured out the whole script and what it means for your audience. I know there's a lot more to this topic, but I've chosen my words carefully. You can't take a classic and twist it on its ear completely. It just doesn't work. Make your own devised piece. That's what all these new shows are doing. Angels in America? Think about it. no one was really doing what they were doing. 7 hours of a play? I suppose they've done that in the past, but the topics at the time had been covered in other plays and tried to fit in classical works, but they never really resonated completely. And not that that was the reason they wrote Angels in America, Tony Kushner, but when he devised his own work, which was a hard sell, 7 hours and the topics and everything that happened, it was very original. Hard to believe now, after you've seen the movie, you've seen the play, big success, Pulitzer Prize, everything. But at the time of the writing, trying to get it up and running, difficult, very difficult. Maybe they said no because of the length, but difficult. But he got to say exactly everything he wanted to say about Mormons, about the AIDS crisis, about gay life, about, everything he wanted to say exactly as he wanted to say it, because he devised and worked on and wrote his own piece, and the people that worked on it with him. Do you see? Much more impactful for those messages. It works better. All right. This will upset people. There'll be some angry comments. Discussion is best. Discussion is much better than just being silent. But discussion where you're open-minded. Why didn't this work? Why won't it work in the future? What will work? Okay? And not just chucking the whole thing because some things weren't agreed upon. All right. Please like and subscribe. I know it's hard to like this video, but I could use subscriptions. I'm getting a lot of views, which is great, but not a lot of subscribers. So I need your help. Please just click that button. All right. We'll talk again. Thanks for listening. Bye.